Bonjour les amis, welcome back to Generator. I hope you've been well since the last time we chatted. Today, I want to talk about a subject that's really dear to me. I covered it a bit in my newsletter, Prompts from Paris. I'd love for you to join in. You can find that on my website, janebertch.com. I spent a lot of the newsletter talking about change and transformation and how the messy part of it can be so beautiful. And the difficult part is often when you're in the middle ground, when you're somewhere between where you were and where you want to be. And one thing I've realized when you're trying to embark upon personal transformation or transformation of any type, things have to change. And if you want to make big changes, you have to make big changes. I think that's the formula. I don't see another way around. Welcome to Generator. I'm Jane Bertch. I spent the first half of my life working in a corporate organization, and then I decided to trade that all in to become an entrepreneur. Yes, here in your favorite city of Paris, France. And today, I hope I'm a guide on your journey to personal reinvention and transformation. So in making those big changes, one has to take risks. The R word. Every time I talk about taking risks with friends and colleagues, you can see us sucking in the air depending on the gravity of that risk that we're discussing. But frankly, we take risks all day long. We take risks in all of the decisions we make, in whether or not we decide to send that important email, in whether or not we decide to pick up the phone to call somebody, and whether or not we answer the phone when they're calling. Those are all micro risks, because with the risk, we know that there's an outcome on the other end. So taking risks is something that's so important to us, especially when we're embarking upon change. And I will say there's an element of taking risks where you don't have all the information. And I guess that's why we call it risk. You're betting on an outcome that you're not aware of. So taking risks is a lot about listening to your intuition. And while I do believe in an element of magic from the universe, you've heard me say that, your intuition is this beautiful data bank of information and experiences that you've collected up to now. And yes, it may sit in your subconscious, but all that information that you've collected, i.e., and it sits in your gut, tells you this is the way I need to go, even in the absence of full information. But still yet, taking risks is hard. It is hard. And I'm not going to say that risk-taking is some magic formula that any of us have. What I will say is I have 4 key elements that I realize I use to take risks. I like to call them chess pieces that I'll use subconsciously or consciously, okay? These 4 elements I use to help me move forward. And the good thing here is you don't need all 4 of them at the same time. You don't need them in equal amounts. You just need one to show up. So I'm going to talk about those 4 today. Number 1, curiosity. Number 2, creativity. Number 3, courage. And number 4, community. So let's dive in. Curiosity. How does curiosity help me take risks? Well, this is the perfect let your curiosity get the best of you. Children take risks all day long because they're eternally curious about discovering things. They're curious to learn what something looks like, to delve in, to discover it, to consume it and all that it offers. So I think children are such a great example of how curiosity can allow you to take those little steps to pursue something. So if I don't have creativity, if I'm lacking courage, sometimes indeed my sense of curiosity will just take over. And that curiosity to pursue and continue to pursue allows me to take those small measured risks. So try to think about how you can use your curiosity. How can you use it to help you take those tiny steps forward, which will allow you to take a risk in moving towards the direction that you want? Curiosity is such a powerful tool. The next one, creativity. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about creativity and confidence because I feel that they really go hand in hand. But creativity is extraordinarily important to me in my personal and professional satisfaction. If I'm lacking a sense of creativity, I really struggle to reimagine myself. I struggle to reimagine my business. I struggle to reimagine the world I'm in and how I can improve it. I struggle to reimagine a solution to a problem if my first solution is not working. And when that happens, I lose my confidence. I lose my confidence in my ability to make change, in my ability to refocus myself, in my ability to problem solve, in my ability to revive my business. So creativity and confidence to me are almost a yin-yang relationship where they're so intertwined. And of course, on the other end, if I am feeling creative, I'm flush with ideas. I'm flush with opportunities that I hadn't seen. I'm flush with energy and focus to move forward. And when I have those, and I take those tiny steps, and if one doesn't work, I'm able to reimagine and go another direction, I keep moving forward. And that in turn enhances my confidence. So I almost use them interchangeably. For me, they're very much a part of the same thing. So that was number 2, creativity. Number 3, courage. And I want to use this carefully. Every once in a while, someone will say to me, "Oh my gosh, Jane, you've moved countries and you started a business. You're so courageous." And I really shrink when I hear that because we're all courageous. We all have our tolerance for courage in different areas. And maybe I wasn't courageous. Maybe I was being creative. Maybe my community helped push me forward. Maybe I was being curious to continue to see if this crazy idea I had would work. And we all use courage again throughout our day. And I think of so many people who getting out of bed in the morning is challenging. And they have the courage to do it. And they're just as courageous as somebody who's moved countries. And talk about where we're courageous or not. This, I can actually laugh at myself. I measure my courageousness or my courage in the ability to order anything but an œuf mayo at a restaurant. And I disclosed this in my newsletter, and I even talked about my friend Michael, because we were talking about courage. And I said, you know what, that's where I'm not courageous. And where I'm not courageous when I go back to Chicago, my hometown, I like to enjoy the things that I'm familiar with. I cannot be courageous enough to try new things. And he said, by the way, I've never seen you order anything other than a steak frite. So my courage falls well outside of being able to order food at a restaurant. And I suspect you listening have your elements of courage all throughout your day. You certainly have them all throughout your life. And they're not to be measured in big or small. They're to be measured in moving forward. And as a friend who's a runner reminded me, there's no speed. The pace is forward. And that's what we need to remind ourselves. So yes, courage is one of those pillars that I'll use when I'm taking risks. And that's just saying, you know what, I'm going to just keep on forward until I'm told otherwise. By the way, that telling comes from me or from signs I'm listening to. And courage can be not moving forward. Courage can be having the conviction to stand still. And courage can be the courage to quit, to stop, to know that the fight you fought was a wonderful one and the journey has come to an end, rather than to let it just meander on. So courage comes in all forms. And I just wanted to remind us of that. And the last one, community. This one is so, so very important. If you have a community around you, you're more likely to fulfill your goals and dreams. You're more likely to have somebody to encourage you on those days when you don't feel like it. You're more likely to have somebody check in to say, where are you with that? You mentioned that that was important. How are you making progress on it? So when I'm lacking creativity, courage, curiosity, oftentimes my community steps in. It's my community that steps in to just nudge me that little bit further to help me keep going. In the spirit of community, think about who you keep around you. This is so important. Think about where you plant your seeds. They will grow much stronger if you plant them in a fertile garden next to other beautiful flowers. And if I'm using the garden analogy, think carefully about tending your garden. We know that weeds grow really quick, and those weeds are bad ideas we tell ourselves, or people who are not there to help us reach our best purpose. They can grow real quick and look real beautiful until you realize they're not. So keep your garden tended. So friends, that's my magic formula to taking risks. Using those 4 pillars, sometimes one, sometimes 2, sometimes all of them, to help me move forward when I don't have the fullness of information. So I encourage you to think about staying curious, Approach things with childlike curiosity. Abandon the thoughts around what if. Stay curious. Find ways to exercise your creativity. That's so important. And don't forget the impact that being creative and a sense of creativity has on your overall confidence. So find ways to continue to explore your sense of creativity. And why not do that with others? Number 3, be courageous. And remind yourself of how courageous you already are. Think of the courage it took for you to get here today, for you to have done the things that you did today. Be proud of them. Wear that cape and continue to exercise, even in the smallest of way, if it seems to you, little ways in which you can be courageous. And lastly, think about your community. And if you don't have one, create one. By the way, this is one of the reasons why I've started Paris retreats for women. I want to create a space where women who need to reimagine themselves, reimagine their businesses, where they can come together and really capitalize on all of those elements to take those small risks to go forward. So wherever you are, think about your community, including your virtual ones, because those are more and more present. And even if you're not engaging with those people in an intimate way, you're letting them influence you. So think about that. So friends, I'm going to leave you with a final quote that I love, and I hope it makes you think about taking risks. It's a quote by Anaïs Nin, and it's one of my favorites. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to bloom. So friends, keep on blooming, and I hope you become a perennial bloomer. Thanks for joining me. And as you know, I love journaling. Often journaling helps me see my way through these 4 elements when I'm taking risks. And if you love journaling too, don't forget to check out my website, janebertch.com/journal, and I'll send you my 30-day journal prompts. Okay, mes amis, I'll see you next time.